It all happened like I knew it would. A single drop of source magic. And, like flies to honey, the monsters swarmed. The rebel panicked. The carnage began. And the Magisters pointed their fingers at me. Just as I'd planned. I was shackled and collared and sent to Fort Joy. I'd come here to kill Godwoken. But instead I became part of their story.
The things I do to complete a contract. Being leashed by the Order once was quite enough.
Ah, you there. Not too tight, I hope. The collar, I mean. Oh, not to worry. Every dog has to get used to its leash. In the meantime, your next stop will be Magister William. All passengers have to be registered in the ship's manifest, and he's the chap in charge of the logs. You'll find him on the other side of this deck, in the officers' quarters.
No lesions, no trauma.
Dungeon? You have the gall to call my laboratory a dungeon? Oh, I'd be quite annoyed with you, if you didn't look so honestly perplexed.
Index fingers pressed to her lips, she pauses a moment to give you a scrutinizing gander.
My word, you do seem a bit befuddled, don't you? Perhaps I was a bit too generous with that sedative. Oh well, I'm sure you'll soon gather your wits. Most likely. Eventually. In the meantime, all you need to know is that we're en route to Fort Joy. A new life awaits. And if you're a particularly good boy, perhaps a cure as well. An end to Source. For good. Why, for my peace of mind, of course. Why don't you try casting one of those Source spells of yours? See what happens.
Currents of magic surge inside you, boiling, bursting, then breaking, only to fade back into your soul like rain into the earth.
My, look at the concentration on your face. All will, but no result. There you have it, see? The collar's function. It neuters you, of sorts. Makes you unable to cast Source. For your own peace of mind, of course. Yours and the whole world's.
Bloody murder. Looks like someone's hit the Hall of Echoes a little early.
Ugly sight, isn't it? Burns me up this happened under our protection. We're extremely lucky no Voidwoken followed the source that did this.
The hatch is blocked. I'll need to find another way.
concentrate.
Don't care about us. We're like cattle to them.
I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on.
I wasn't doing anything. I swear.
Picking us off one by one.
Can we just...
Ah, there you are. Husband. Would you please tell this very charming gaggle of not-at-all brat-like babes that I am by no accounts this Losa woman, nor do I sing, in fact. I'm deathly allergical. Why, I never. I left my good pals at home, or I'd be clutching them with all my daintiest, most ladylike might. Say as you will, husband. Madame Josephine Gribbles de Peeb won't be treated so.
The children break out into giggles.
What? What's so funny?
Her pinched face cracks into a great grin, and she shoos the children away from her with a laugh.
Yeah, okay, you found me out. Go on and git, and maybe I'll sing you something when I'm good and ready.
She turns to you, dark-eyed and dirty-haired, and smiles flatly.
Gotta keep ourselves entertained, haven't we? Guess you aren't a creative type, are you, Chief? I say they're one and the same. Nope. Trying not to find anything out either. Ignorance is bliss. The utterer, the better.
One of us.
Thanks, but I already belong to an elite and exclusive ship gang. We play ball every day after lunch. You're too soft for it. You take care, though.
Suddenly, her eyes cloud to an unnatural black. Greyish veins run down her face, and her mouth tightens into a cruel sneer. As quickly as they came, the clouds clear. She smiles as though no change came over her.
Good luck, Chief.
Classify this slop as food. I've seen more appetizing things coming out of plague-stricken pigs.
There's nothing
Name?
else I can make, Your Majesty. Turnips and water are all I was given.
Unacceptable. I've never dined on anything less...
Well, you aren't here on my list. Scram, eh? We're trying to catch a killer here.
Well, there has been a murder, Your Majesty. Maybe that has the Magisters more concerned than your appetite. I spent my life singing for my slaves to bring me my supper. Finer fare than boiled roots and rotten tubers, too. Meanwhile, the Magisters feast on honeyed meat behind this very wall. The indignity.
An elf sits tucked away in a dark spot, lazily rolling dice onto the surface of a barrel. They sound like the dry cackling of an old witch.
Snake eyes.
She chuckles.
I bet that's just what they'll look like.
She shakes her head.
Game for one, I'm afraid. Rolling dice.
To the part where I reassure you and you shut up.
Deciding fates.
Mad?
Don't worry, honey. It isn't yours.
Surely.
She looks you up and down with the merest hint of a coy smile on her lips.
Never say never, though.
She eyes you quite seriously.
Not the future, no. But I can read the past in flesh. One of the perks of being an elf, you see. I'm quite good at it, too. I could lick your arm and tell you how you spent the night before last. Shall I?
She gives your arm a vigorous stroke of the tongue, efficient like a cat grooming.
You were in a cellar with other sorcerers. As everyone lay sleeping, it seems you and another elf engaged in an action somewhat similar to the one I just performed. Only rather more vigorously. Of course it is. The truth's right there, skin deep. But don't you worry, darling. Your secret's safe with me. I don't lick and tell.
Put a knuckle in it. I'm trying to concentrate. They don't care about us. We're like cattle to them. I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on. One of us will kill our own. They're picking us off one by one. Can we just skip to the part where I reassure you and you shut up? You think me mad? Mad? No. Insufferable. Surely.
A broad dwarf sits totally upright on the bench, eyes closed, palms face up on his knees. His beard is a cascade of meticulous plaits, each one braided through with golden medallions. He raises an eyebrow as you approach, but doesn't open his eyes.
Listen up, boy. You hear that?
Classify this slop as food. I've seen more appetizing
The
things
ship,
coming out
of
plague
course.
stricken pigs.
A wave of sound washes over you. The unintelligible chatter of your shipmates, the groaning of wood from floor to ceiling, the boom, crash and crackle of waves around you, complaints from the sea itself.
And? Sick as a leper's cat. From the state of it, I'd say she's being cared for by a bunch of beardless babes who never loved anyone but their own mums. But there's more. Listen close. There now, just like that. Aha!
His eyes snap open as his countenance breaks into an expression of joy. One great paw claps you on the back. The other catches you before you lose your footing.
There. You heard it, didn't you? I knew it. I knew it. Aye, this is good news, boy. Good news.
There's nothing else I can make, Your Majesty.
No, you beautiful idiot. That wasn't any rat. It was the wheel. Squeaks whenever the helmsman jerks it clockwise, which means we're heading east. Burn my beard. That means if we've been travelling for, yes, only 10.34 nautical miles to Fort Joy. No indeed, boy. But that ain't my final destination.
The dwarf leans back from the table and strokes his beard, gold medallions jingling merrily. His eyes roll over to you.
That'll be all. Thank you kindly, boy.
He continues stroking his beard, a beatific smile on his lips, and doesn't acknowledge you anymore.
Classify this slop as food. I've seen more appetizing things coming out of plague-stricken
The elf
pigs.
is reading a volume of Cranley Hubert's famous encyclopedia. He looks up, his big round eyes scanning your body, absorbing every detail. He reaches out and takes your hand, turning it this way and that, examining it from every angle. Finally, he pinches your skin, gently tugging at it.
Fascinating.
He sits back and returns to his book, flicking quickly from page to page, completely oblivious to your presence.
It's a register, sir. Good, good. Magister Williams is just about done with the last passenger. You faring okay so far? Glad to hear it. You head on in now. Williams will get you sorted fast.
I'll keep those bubbles trained on her, and if she tries to run, shoot to kill.
Do you? Well, you seem on edge, officer. What on earth is the matter?
Standing at the center of the room, you spot a sorcerer haughtily eyeing a pair of nervous-looking magisters. They keep their crossbow trained upon her as she's being interrogated by an officer.
So you admit it then? You murdered that poor fella?
Yes, I did. But of course, that was only the beginning.
She turns her head and looks you straight in the eye.
There are others whose lives must end.
Good God, the woman's mad. You there, sorcerer, go and fetch Magister Siwan. We need to do more than collar this maniac. We need to shackle her, hands and feet.
It means your journey draws to a close. Do stick around for its finale, though, because...
She reaches for her collar and simply removes it.
I'm just about to create a scene.
Subdue her, men, quickly! If she casts source, the Voidwoken will come. They'll end us all.
She smiles with wicked satisfaction.
Precisely.
What's happened? Not long before this thing snaps into splinters.
Great God, something's pounding on the hull!
dwarfs first, just like the old stories say.
The dwarf yanks at one of the nearby ropes to no avail.
You said there were other people down there. We need to help them.
You see those tentacles, kid? It's time for getting the hell out of here.
Thank you! There's a ladder right over there. You can go straight down.
You're gonna be the death of us in here.
The Magister lies on the floor, unconscious and bleeding from a dire-looking wound. The Magister lies on the... The Magister lies on the floor, unconscious. The Magister lies on the floor.
If you can walk, get yourself up the ladder. There's a... Wait! Void Woken!
I thought Void Woken was supposed to be scary.
Let the games begin.
They who are about to triumph.
These beardless bugs won't sink the ship on my watch.
I hear something.
We make a pretty...
It's Magister Siwan, the one who put on this damn collar.
She tries to speak, but can only gape as she clutches her neck, trying to stem the bleeding of a gushing wound. With jagged movements, she raises her clenched fist and holds out a length of cloth, soaked with some kind of strong-smelling tincture. Blood quickly soaks through the cloth. Magister Siwan's mouth opens and closes, her eyes wide in terror. Blood pours out from around the bandage. Magister Siwan reaches out to you, her hand flailing. It's working. The pressure is stemming the flow of blood. Siwan clutches your arm, her eyes locked with yours. Something within the ship snaps. The floorboards shudder. Siwan struggles to her feet, clinging to you tightly. The ship lets out a deep groan, then cracks.
ship apart. This is it. She's going down.
I have plans for you, child. Rise.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed that, check out some of our other videos on IGN.com and our YouTube channel. For more news, tips, and videos on your favorite games and entertainment, keep it here at IGN.
I'd sooner cut my tongue out than lie to you, Alexander.